Alright, alright. Hopefully this is coming through alright. Let's see. Let's see. Hopefully the audio is not too bad, not too high, just right. Fabulous Bandit, you seem to have good taste in armor. Just want to go ahead and throw that out there. But, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, or morning, depending on where you're at. My name's Nycto, and it's a pleasure to meet you. So, how's the audio quality coming in? Is everything balanced out? Like, my voice isn't too loud, the music's still right? I figure I might as well go ahead and ask that. Just make sure everything's good to go before we continue. UX, happy to see you here, man. How you been? Oh, Chica, you're here too. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Chica. I'm gonna need you to slow down for like 2 seconds there, alright? There's a BGM you can't hear. Oh, give me a sec. Hmm. There's a BGM, you don't hear it. Okay. Well, we're against scouts, so let's see if we can figure that out. Alright, how about now? Did you hear the BGM? It's not a proper debut unless things are scuffed. You know, you're not even wrong about that, and I was having a conversation with somebody else about this, but this is absolute karma for all the other times I bullied a bunch of other VTubers. So, you know, I deserve this. I absolutely deserve this. Oh, I'm absolutely like that, Bandit. That's absolutely what's going on in my mind. Hey, Doxor, nice to see you. Chica, I'm gonna need you to calm down for like 2 seconds there. I appreciate the enthusiasm, but you know what? Go off. Go off. We're all here to have a good time. Anyways, my name is Nycto. For those of you who are just popping in, I'm a musician as well as an undead penitent, and I figured this was something that I wanted to go ahead and do for quite some time after working with the VTubing community for quite for about a minute now. And honestly, I figured at some point that I might as well go ahead and dive right in. So, here I am. Here's my model. In fact, let me go ahead and show off my actual full model. Because like this seems like an actual thing. But yeah, you can bask in the glory of my model in its full beauty. As you can see right here. Let's see. Iris was muted for the first 5 minutes when she debuted. Oh man, I wonder how she found out. You heard him. Have a good time. I'll be back with a horde of dead bodies so I can start like full rituals. Docs, you understand that this is the reason why I have to smack you every time you talk, right? Let's see. Let me go ahead and make a couple adjustments. Speed metal cover of Fly Me to the Moon. Oh, I could definitely get that going for you. In fact, I actually have a pleasant surprise for you a little bit later down the line with the stream. Let's. Who said anything about king shaming? Are you into necrophilia? What? Yeah. Whatever you're into, man, you're into it. Just leave me out of it, alright? I think I'm good with it. I think I'm good with it. So, let's see. You're into occult rituals. I'm a little scared about what kind of occult rituals that you happen to be into. Necros when they figure out the dead seeds. Yeah. You know, it's funny that you mentioned that too, because I was thinking, like, one of the main points behind my character that I'm gonna elaborate a little bit on as I go deeper into the stream is that he's a character who focuses, whose primary goal is to eliminate anything that lives through unholy, unnatural, and unliving means. So automatically that puts half of the VTuber community on my shit list, which is amazing when you think about it. I mean, for real, the amount of succubuses and zombies we have in there is ridiculous. That's not even counting, was it vampires? Reapers, I've seen like 2 Reapers. I don't think they're on a thin line, I'll put it like that. I knew this one VTuber, what was his name? Lumi. She had a model that was to have a wasp that lived through parasitic means, but since she's a natural creature, it's like, you're on a thin line too, but I'll go ahead and let you slide on that. Let's see. The normals, the demons, summonings, curses, hexes, blessings of the woods, so they eat all the trespassers that step into the yard. So you're the Blair Witch, is what you're telling me. Wait, the ritual to summon notches to the door, I use a device known as a smart to connect to the agent. Oh, I love that. I love that UX. You're a jam. I love that, man. I love that. I'm just a Viking or a Draugr. I'm good, I think. Mate, you know a Draugr is an unliving, is basically like an unliving revenant in Viking mythology. So you see this spear right here? Yeah, it's got your name on it. Just thought you'd know that. Anyways, before I go ahead and continue to ramble on, let's go ahead and continue further into the stream. Demon, what about demons? Are they on your... Yes. Unliving, unnatural, and unholy. So, you know, take it for what you will. For glory. You already know how it is, bandit. Alright, so let's go ahead and move on. I'm gonna go ahead and show off a little bit more of what I have to showcase. So, let's get to it. Okay. So, might as well go ahead and give myself a little bit of an introduction. Capital or unnatural, what about them? Not really for the setting that I'm aiming for. Like let's imagine that's a bit of a fantasy setting, because that's kind of what I base my character a little bit off of. So any race that would be considered like a D&D race, like natural in that sense, I'd be fine. I'd be completely fine with. So bug girls, shark girls, all that good stuff. Like I know y'all are a bunch of degenerates and you're definitely into it, but thankfully those girls are safe, and the dudes as well while we're at it. Not all of us demons. I'm one of the good ones. Are you a good one? Based on whose standard? That's the real question. Shark boy and lava girl. Yeah, they would be fine. Shark boy and lava girl. I love that. It's a bit of an irony considering the fact that I myself am an undead penitent. But, you know, it is what it is. Anyways, I'm going to go ahead and talk a little bit about myself, what this model is all about, the concept art that went behind it, and yeah, we'll go from there. So, before I actually decided I wanted to go ahead and debut as a VTuber, I actually spent about 7 years, as you can see here, doing music. I started about, what was it? About 2012. That was when I really started like trying to learn music on my own and everything like that. And the reason why I got into it is because I listened to this one band by the name of Pendulum, which is a drum and bass band based in Britain. Some of you might be familiar with them, some of you might not. But honestly, they were basically my gateway into music in general. I fell in love with most of their content, which kind of led me over to, may the Lord forgive me for saying it, Nightcore. But from Nightcore, I got into hardcore techno music, then to more drum and bass and some trance, and as well as dubstep. Like 2012 was kind of like the year when dubstep was kind of hitting the mainstream with like Skrillex and all them, so you're probably all aware of it. But I was heavily invested in like the underground scene. So I ended up listening to a bunch of artists who I still listen to this day, even though they don't make music anymore, which is a damn shame when you think about it. But like some of those underground musicians, there's four of them I can always point off right at the top of my head, and those are Phonic, Dexair, Sinks, and Crucia, spelled with a capital A at the end for some reason. But it was because of them that I decided I wanted to go ahead and learn about how to make music and really get myself invested into it. Especially Dexair, when I found out that he was only a few months younger than me. And when I found out that he was making amazing music and he was a few months younger than me, I said to myself, okay, what am I doing with myself? Like, I want to learn how to do this. I should know how to do this. Like, this is something that I should know how to do. If someone as young as him can do it, I can do it too. So that began a long process of me going through a bunch of little trials, trying to figure out exactly what I want to know, what I want to learn, and all that good stuff. Um, I spent a great amount of time in business class, of all places, actually learning music, which is funny when you think about it. But the reason why was because business class for me in high school was it was one of those classes where you just put your name on it and then you got an A. But you would have to try to fail it. So we ended up spending a lot of free time on the back of our computers, either playing games and all that. I spent pretty much my entire semester just learning music theory and trying to basically get everything I could off of the whole situation. Are you by any means inspired the Blasphemous the game? Yes, actually, and I'm gonna get into that in a little bit. Yeah. So I'll definitely explain that. But to answer your question, yes, this character is definitely inspired by Blasphemous. Let's see. Let's see. No, that makes sense actually. A lot of musicians like business not. Chica, you you're not even wrong about that. You're not wrong about that. And I hate you for it. And you know what's even more like you know what's even worse about that? Like I feel like I have an actually pretty decent knowledge of business. It's just I don't apply myself to it, you know? Like I know about like keeping track of overhead, taxes, and all that. Excuse me, and all that good stuff, like all the basic stuff that you would need to know to go ahead and start up a business. I mean, I don't know anything about like local laws and all that. Like that's something I would have to educate myself on, as I imagine anyone starting a business would. But I just don't apply the knowledge that I have. You know, it's just a matter for me. I just want to make the music that I want to make and just get good at it. You know. By the way, the BGMs that you're listening to right now, all of them were composed by me. Like all of these have been composed by me. So, just want to go ahead and show that off a little bit. Most of what you're gonna be hearing now is more orchestral and cinematic. But if you go into my YouTube channel, towards like the earlier years and all that, you'll see that I mainly produced a bunch of like horrorcore techno, drum and bass, and trance. As the second point would kind of like bring out. I was mainly invested in like hardcore techno because that was a genre that really what's the word for it? It really inspired me and made me want to and on top of that, like it made me want to dance. I'm not even gonna lie. It made me want to dance. It was just very energetic for me, and I really got into it. It was a genre that I wanted to see succeed over in the West, which sadly it didn't. But I'm grateful that I still went with it because it did kind of give me like the foundation to develop myself as a musician that I am now. A robot hiccuping, more likely than you think. Yeah. Let's see. Give it away. Art trance? Yes, actually. I've actually done quite a bit of hard trance here and there over in the past, but most of the trance I've done is I want to say like symphonic or something of the likes. I don't know exactly how you would describe that, but the point is there's a lot of arps, reverb, and all that good stuff. It's not necessarily trance, kind of like Eurobeat or whatever, but but hard trance is definitely a genre that I'm more invested in. Actually, another genre that I'm trying to get myself into is side trance. I've been listening to a lot of tracks from that genre, and honestly, I think I might go ahead and experiment with something like that in the near future. We'll definitely see what can happen with that. My friends were into hardstyle like a lot. Yeah, I was actually into hardstyle myself, but let me tell you, trying to make the gongs in the beat, they are hard as hell. At least, or they're not hard as hell. They're hard as hell to make sound good. And you can probably get that impression based on something like tracks that you might listen to like back in the day and age versus now. People who are into hardstyle, they've definitely perfected the art of getting the sound just right. And I got a lot of respect for them for being able to do so. Breakcore, I'm not too big of a fan of breakcore. So it's not that the genre itself is bad or anything like that. So for me personally, I'm a very harmonious composer. Like people describe my compositions as being like a harmonic melancholy, as in it's very sad, has a bit of a meaning to it, and a lot of the elements end up kind of dancing around each other. So for me, like you can kind of hear in the song, there's a lot of harmonious elements going on right there that are meant to complement each other and form a grand theater, in a sense. So that's just my composition style, and those are my that's the kind of music that I tend to enjoy a lot. Like music that tells us that can tell a clear and concise story for me is the kind of music that I want to go ahead and produce, and the kind that I enjoy. Speaking of which, or kind of going a little bit on the side, you bartended at a side transmit. Oh, really? How was that? I'm actually kind of curious. Breakcore is either amazing or pouring concrete into one's ear. Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's definitely the case. I've heard some really good breakcore tracks that I would actually listen to actively when I'm doing like little road trips. It was unlicensed. Ooh. Well, let me just go ahead and contact the authorities real quick. Now I'm kidding. All right. Anyways, moving on. Jump the fence when the guy. Oh, but they already know. That's amazing. Yeah, I definitely had that experience with my first rave. Let me tell you, that first rave was amazing. Like absolutely amazing. Like the air was perfect, the music was perfect, like stereo was perfect, everything about it was perfect. Like it was a trip. There were a lot of people who were like very scantily dressed though, which can be a good or a bad thing depending on how you look at it. I'm saying, but yeah, it's there. Anyways, another thing about me is that I've actually worked with a large number of cover singers, mainly U types, if you happen to be familiar with them. So I mentioned that I started making music around like the 2012 era, and I think it was about 2012 to like 2015, maybe 2017-ish, that anime cover singers were a big thing. They still are, but they weren't trending as much. Or now they're not nearly trending as much as they did back in the day and age. Now we already know it's all about VTubers, so that's the situation with that. But I did actually get to interact quite a bit with the Utah community, working with a couple of like big names as well as like smaller names, more smaller names than anything else since I myself was like starting out and still learning. But one person that I did actually get the chance to work with was Little Jamie Cakes, which I'm not sure if you're all familiar with her, but she's an absolutely fantastic singer. I I think she might have kind of stopped singing, which is a bit of a shame when you think about it, but she was a very during my time working with her, she was a very pleasant person to work with. Let's see. I need to tell until I get caught. See, Bandit gets it. The difference, like my dad actually taught me this one line, and I still live by it to this day. But the difference between picking corn and stealing corn is whether or not you get caught. So you know, there's that. Generates balance to this community, looking great. Hell yeah! I mean, let's be real. Like, there's no saint without a past and no sinner without a future. So let's go ahead and keep it as it is. You know, anybody's welcome to come here, except pedophiles. Anyways, let's see. Going back to the topic that I was talking about. Let's see. So yeah, I actually got the chance to work with a bunch of cover singers back in the day and age. Like, if you were to Google myself, Nycto, and Jane, you would actually see that one of the compositions I actually did for her will show up. Like, I actually did a composition for ReZero, and I actually did an original composition that she ended up singing over, which actually I'm pretty happy about. Sometimes I think about going back to that track and like remastering it because it's a great track, but my mixdown knowledge was just not there at the time. So it's a good song, compositionally speaking, but the mixdown could be better. Let's see. Besides that, I also got a chance to work with a bunch of other musicians as I was coming up. Like, I used to be a member of something called the EDM District, in case some of you don't know or might not be acquainted with. It was a forum that was built by a bunch of major labels, such as Spinning Records, Monster Cats. I think it was called Big Sheep as well. But yeah, they were it was a forum that was made by a bunch of big name EDM labels. They were bringing up a bunch of underground artists, and they had it in mind to have that community established so they can basically groom upcoming artists into becoming the kind of musicians that they wanted. And I actually ended up working with a bunch of like indie musicians in that community and learning a little bit more from them in that. Now, sadly, the community itself is gone after a big falling out happened between the members of the forum and the major labels. See, the members of the forum felt that the major labels had become distant and had ended up basically ignoring everything and anything that the indie musicians were trying to accomplish, which is a bit of a shame. But having been on that side of the fence, I could definitely say that there was definitely some truth to it. So instead of really listening to what the indie musicians had in mind, the major labels, I think Monster Cap, they were the ones who owned it, ended up shutting it down, which is a bit of a shame, but I can kind of understand where they're coming from a business perspective, because they had already had all the artists that they wanted, and there wasn't any real incentive or reason for them to continue to go ahead and do that, especially when a lot of those major artists still work with them to this day, such as, I think Varian actually still works with them. I don't know, I've been kind of out of the loop out of it, but that is what I saw, and yeah. Let's see. Sometimes going back to a previous project is good because you can improve it with the new knowledge you've learned. And that's absolutely true. There's actually this one track I've been meaning to go ahead and remix or do like a VIP version of. So we'll see what happens with that. But yeah. That's its Mechanicus game. I'm glad you do. It's funny that you mentioned that because a lot of people say that my music could definitely fit into like video game music, like boss music, or even like background music for like a particularly epic scene, which has honestly been the inspiration for a lot of the music that I listen to. Like, what was it? Like, I remember Ratchet and Clank had a bunch of like awesome beats to it, as did Jack and Daxter and what was it? Sly Cooper. Like, those are my three big games I was playing when I was growing up, and they honestly inspired me by a great deal. Big Ron Danny, something a big fan of you, man. Yeah, thank you, dude. I really appreciate that. Really appreciate that. So yeah, I ended up doing a bunch of collabs with a bunch of with a bunch of other musicians. And Yeah, and some of those songs you can actually check out on my YouTube channel. Recently, I haven't really had the chance to work with a whole lot of musicians because, well, it's really a combination of reasons. Like for some people, it was a falling out. For some other people, it was just we just lost touch, and for some other people, they just stopped making music, which is a bit of a shame. But sometimes you have to keep moving forward. Like I know there were definitely a couple of times where I myself would have stopped making music, but I think I've gone past the point of stopping, and now I just do this because it's just kind of ingrained into me. Which don't like I'll let you know that's gonna take a very long time for anybody to reach that stage. And even then, sometimes I find myself acting a little bit more lazy, and I just make music because I feel like it. But it took me a long time to get to where I'm at now, and I'm pretty happy about it. I'm pretty happy things panned out the way they did. Let's see. Love the way the harpsichord mixes with the synth. Oh yeah, yeah. That. Let me go and look at that track. I'm actually curious what that one is. Let's see. Let's see. Let me get the name of the song for you because I know a lot of you are actually talking a little bit about it. But the name of that song is Tears of the Cherubim. In fact, I will go ahead and link you it in case you want to go ahead and listen to it on your own time. But yeah, okay, I just posted the link. It should show up in a little bit for y'all. But that's the track itself if y'all want to take a listen to it on your own time. Now let's see what we got here. Jeremy Soul. I can't say that I'm familiar with that guy. If you could, link him in the chat. I'll definitely take a look at him a little bit later. Another thing you could also do is, I actually have a Discord set up. If you want to join that, feel free to hop in. Like, we got real chill community going on there. Like, honestly, I'm really happy with how the community is so far. So, lots of really colorful characters in there. But yeah, feel free to hop in there if you want. The link is in the description, and we can go from there. Anyways, moving on. Let's see. Oh yeah, I also did get a chance to work with a bunch of other VTubers. Actually, my first VTuber who I got to work with is actually responsible for the finalized concept of my VTuber model, which again I'll get into in a little bit. But her name is Cecile. Cecile. I know a lot of you are probably familiar with her, but I ended up doing like a background track for her, and in exchange, she gave me a solid concept for the model that I currently have now, which honestly I'm really happy about it. Anyways, let's see. I have worked with a couple of other VTubers in the meantime, and honestly I'm pretty happy about it. Things are going pretty smoothly. I'm actually hosting a raffle right now for a couple of other VTubers to get free BGM, and because of the reception that's gotten, I decided I'm gonna go ahead and do 2 winners for that particular raffle. So we'll see what happens with that. Let's see. Besides that, I also do study a bunch of like philosophy, theology, and history. Like you could probably get, you probably already got the implication that I'm a bit of a religious paladin sort, or whatever the case may be here. I do think that it is a very interesting topic, and I do enjoy having that kind of conversation with people whenever I get the chance, because conversations like that in general are just very rare nowadays. Like I know a lot of people say you shouldn't talk about politics and religion, but I feel like that's been going on so long that people have lost a basic of an understanding of what both of those things are. Let's see. I have announced my presence in the Discord. Well, I appreciate that, man. Glad to have you aboard. Besides that, I'm actually a huge fan of history. Like for me, they come off as like stories that can be inspirational because these are like actual events and everything like that happened. And to think that people are able to accomplish that, it's amazing to me. Not only that, but in a way, we're all kind of writing our own little history. Like there's a lot of things about myself that I could tell you about, but if I was to do that, we'd be here for a long time. But more than that, I don't know. A part of me always finds it interesting when I'm having a conversation with different people. what their story is, what they believe in, that kind of deal. Like, I actually genuinely enjoy having those kinds of conversations. And it's always insightful to learn something new from them, to understand why it is that they learn, why they believe in some of the things that they do and all that. And it's okay to disagree with people every now and again, but it's more important that everybody's able to keep like an open mind when it comes to things like this. Let's see. As for my background, let's see. So, I actually don't quite recall a whole lot about my background itself. But when I came to, I know I was actually tasked by the Greater Will to hunt all those who live through undead, unholy, and unnatural means. In a way, I'm an enforcer of their will. And when I get into combat with a bunch of these creatures, it's not necessarily one that's done out of spite so much as it's done with a sense of purpose. Like, this is my reasoning for engaging with them. But yes, ultimately, I do serve that greater will. And as you can see on the next point, of course, my main weapon of choice is it's a trident/spear. I was originally aiming for like a 3-pronged spear, but not quite a trident. I was aiming for something a little bit more of a guard. But this ended up turning into a little bit more of a trident regardless, and you know what? It worked out. I'm pretty happy about it. In fact, let me go ahead and see if I can showcase a little bit more of that. Let me see. But yeah, you can see right here, it's nothing too special. Just a little something just a little something simple. I don't know what it is, but for me, I've always been attracted towards like spears when it came to designing any of my OCs or anything of the likes. I don't know what it is. I just like the idea of like how I think what really attracted me was how what's it called? How first off how accessible the spear is and how many different fighting styles you can employ with it. Like, if you take a look at, for example, how like Buddhist monks would fight using a bow staff, or even how there's a bunch of little techniques that you utilize with the spear. It just comes off as very intriguing to me. On top of that, the thing itself has an incredible amount of utility. Big stick cool. Pretty much. Pretty much. Nice chef. You realize I can see this, right? You have to behave yourself, otherwise it might just have to smite you. You got rings around the sash, things around the waist. Do those have any special meaning? So kind of diving a little bit into the design of my character himself. The character model is especially fish down 810, but he's I thought I didn't have that set up yet. Did they finally set it up? Oh, I appreciate that, Tuna. What do you say? Knife back, scratch your my god. Tuna, I love you. I love you. You are a special case. You are an absolutely special case. Anyways, to answer your question about the 3 rings, the basis of my character can practically be summarized in just 2 words. And those 2 words are memento mori. For those of you who don't know, memento mori in Latin, it means remember that you must die. Now, what memento mori actually is basically a religious romanticization of death itself. Let's see the chess. Oh, chess! I'm happy to see you here. Exactly, Chica. You already know what it is. But memento mori is a religious romanticization of death. And what I mean by that is that you can kind of see how, like, some religious art depicts skeletons basically praising Christ, as well as other things like that. And I always thought it was an interesting stoicism. Oh yeah, you already know what it is. Stoicism. That's definitely one of my favorite philosophical ideas. That and Taoism. I thought only one we could rule them all. Kind of. I mean, there's a reason why these rings are intersecting, but you might already pick this up, but it's basically a representation of the Trinity. How all the rings are interlinked and connected. Yes, they're all one entity, but they are three separate beings. If that makes sense. It's a very interesting concept, and honestly, I find myself thinking about it every now and again as well, just thinking about it. But yeah, that's what the three rings kind of symbolize. And the reason why my character is an undead penitent, he's a holy character as well. But the whole shtick is that he is a character who is trying to make himself right with the greater will. And that's the only reason why he allows himself to live despite the whole situation of him trying to take down anybody and everybody who is undead, unholy, and unnatural. The only reason why I myself am still alive is because I was specifically ordained by the rule maker to go after these things. That's why I serve as the only exception to the rule, as far as I know. There might be others out there who I'm not aware of, but I don't know any other VTubers who have like a holy undead or unholy situation going about them. As for me, when it comes to my likes and dislikes, favoritism, yeah, you're not even wrong about that. As for me, when it comes to like my likes and dislikes, I just had my likes in there because like who really wants to talk about dislikes? Like that's not really a fun thing. But I do very much enjoy interacting with the community, interacting with different people here and there, and just seeing how they're doing. Of course, you already know I enjoy making music, which for some reason the P in music production is capitalized. I messed that up badly. Anyways, music production, you already know about it. Let's see. I particularly enjoy long nights. Like for some reason, I found myself developing a much more nocturnal sleep pattern, where I just find myself taking a lot of naps during the day for some reason, and then just staying up way late into the night. Oh no, if you talk about dislikes, we might as well have a reason to cancel you. Alright, so I'm gonna be... Okay, so you want to talk about dislikes? Here's a dislike for you. Here's something you can dislike about me. I pour milk before the cereal. How you feel about that? How you feel about that, Chica? Let's see. Of course, I also enjoy reading a bunch of content as well, specifically like old literature. Like one of my favorite ones to read about is my sister-in-law does it. It's not that weird. Huh. I wasn't expecting that response, but alright. God damn it. Bandit does not consume breakfast. It's over. Over. Y'all are very special. I just realized this now. Y'all are very special, and I enjoy having you over here. Anyways, when it comes to reading, I'm a big fan of like old literature. Um, like one of my favorite books that I will always recommend to people is Dante Alighieri's The Divine Comedy. More specifically, the Dante's Inferno, which I know y'all are definitely familiar with. At least if your English teacher was worth anything. But yeah, I happen to be a big fan of that. I also been reading a lot more about like Chinese mythology. I've also gotten into the Morte de Arthur or King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table. I recently picked up War and Peace, and I'm gonna be honest, like I have no idea about it. The only reason why I picked it up is because I remember what was it, Hostel Gato in the Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy mentioned it. Like he mentioned that he was eating the book, which yeah. And then I just happened to cross it when I was over at Barnes and Nobles at one point, and I just decided, you know what, I'll go and pick it up and see what's about. I've yet to read it, but I'm gonna be starting that soon, so we'll definitely see how that works out. Oh yeah, definitely the classics. I'm a huge fan of the classics. Not just classics, but anything that's historical is gonna have a huge appeal to me. Like for example, I got this one book by Ian Mortimer called The Time Traveler's Guide to Medieval England, which um, one thing I learned a lot about it is that their septic system was absolutely horrendous. Being a like being a peasant and having toilets back then was it was a very hard thing. It was a very hard thing. I'm kind of grateful that we have the system that we have now, so we'll put it like that. And speaking of ancient knowledge, here's a little fun fact for y'all. Next time you decide you want to go ahead and party with a couple of your lads. But in excuse me, in ancient Persia, they had to discuss an idea twice. Once sober and once drunk. Because for an idea to be considered good, it had to sound good in both states. So you know, next time y'all decide you want to go ahead and do something really dumb, or something that might not sound perfect, that might be a way to go ahead and filter out what's a good idea and what isn't. Dante's Inferno, some really scary stuff. Oh, yeah, it really is. Like, it was, I mean, it was scary, but it was also fascinating, kind of like a morbid curiosity kind of way. Let's see. The Rerum Natura by Lucrete. Huh. Annie? Oh, nice to have you. I see that you're a monkey. Nice to see you as a monkey. Let's see. Besides reading, I also enjoy combat. Like, I enjoy getting into, like, pugil fights, wrestling, and all that good stuff. Just, I don't know, it's just fun to me. It's definitely fun to me. I do get a lot of bruises whenever I actually get into it, but, you know, I enjoy it. It's a fun time. As for the arts, oh, I'm a huge fan of the arts, especially when it comes to, like, Renaissance art, to be more specific. Not just Renaissance art, but, like any art that you kind of see with a religious iconography in it. Like, religious symbolism is a huge thing for me. Like, I enjoy it to a huge degree. Oh, what martial arts do you practice? I used to practice, most of it's mixed. I've been meaning to get into, let's see, Brazilian, I forget what the term is. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And when I was younger, I actually did study quite a bit of the Eagle Claw. And that, I'm not gonna lie, that inspiration came from, one of the Vox comics that came from, like, Fallout 3, when you would listen to it on, like, your little Pip-Boy. What was it? The Ghoul character mentioned the Eagle Claw, and that got me curious as to what exactly it was. So I ended up reading a little bit about it and figured out that exactly what it was, and it's like, oh, okay, I want to practice this. So that's how I learned about it. And that's one thing that I kind of learned. But for those of you who want to know, Eagle Claw is basically it's designed as like a grappling kind of a form of combat that would focus on locking into particular joints and having that iron grip, which is definitely something you definitely have to work on. Which, if you're hoping to practice iron grip in a way that's fun, get into mountain climbing. I highly recommend that. I mean, you don't have to actually climb mountains, but you could climb like the little mountain thingy in your local gym. Rule of thumb: if the gym does not have one of those climbing things, it's definitely not worth it. Like that's the most fun part of any gym, I feel. But anyways, getting back into the arts. Let's see. So a lot of the Renaissance paintings I actually happen to be a big fan of, such as like the Passion of Christ and all of them. And in fact, a lot of my interest in the arts came from when I was visiting over in Australia, Sydney to be more specific. I went over to the St. Mary's Cathedral, which is the oldest cathedral in Australia, as far as I'm aware. And it was absolutely gorgeous. Like, everything about it was just absolutely gorgeous. Like from the marbles, from like the marble columns to the oil canvas paintings that were just large and hanging on the walls. The design and the iconography of like the coffins, the organ, and that was playing over there. Just everything about it resonated with me, and that's what really got me invested in like the arts and everything like that. Besides that, I also paint a bunch of miniatures like Warhammer and some like indie company models. Like, I've actually bought a couple of models from like Etsy that haven't appealed to me, and yeah, just kind of got myself into it. The squeeze tomato cans really hard. Yeah, that could work. Anyways, one thing I want to go ahead and show off is, let's see. I want to go ahead and show off what's it called? The concept designs. Like I remember somebody mentioned Blasphemous not too long ago, so let me go ahead and bring that up real quick. I'm gonna go. Let me pull that up. Let me pull that up. Hopefully, I could capture it without too much of an issue. Let's see. No, no, no. Let's do. We could probably do a display capture. Let's see. Oh no, that's not what I want at all. Give me like 2 more seconds. Actually, no, 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 no. We're not doing that. Actually, hold up, hold up. I think I can make this work. Okay, yeah, we can make this work. We can make this work. Let's see. Boom. Okay, that's not too bad. It's a little funky, but we can make this work. You get? It's not scuffed. It's not horribly scuffed. We're gonna make this work, all right? We'll be fine. Let me. Oh my god. Okay, we're gonna make this work. We're gonna make this work, chat. Okay, perfect. So yeah, you should be able to see all this. Which, actually, wait, that's gonna work. God dang it! Give me like 2 more seconds. I'll get it straight. Let's see. Let's see. Let me go and restart that. Infinity and beyond, indeed. Infinity and beyond. Let's see. Go ahead and do this. I'm going to capture a specific window, and hopefully I can bring up this. Doesn't seem like it's going to work for me. I mean, worst case scenario, I'll just go ahead and slap it straight on this thing, which I think I'm going to go ahead and do. So let me go ahead and do that, just for the sake of keeping it simple. You know, sometimes you just gotta keep it simple. Anyways, to the person who asked earlier, yes, this character's main inspiration did actually come from Blasphemous. More specifically from something called the Anointed Legion when I was going over and playing it. Like you can see here, this character. This one's not like a special character for any reason or anything of the likes, but for those, but for some reason the design itself really resonated with me, and I wanted to go ahead and do something like that. Like for the longest while, I was trying to figure out exactly what kind of OC I would want if I did indeed have. And when I took a look at this, as I was playing through the game Blasphemous, it just resonated with me in all the right ways. Like, it came off as incredibly stoic, kind of melancholic, and the religious symbolism and iconography was definitely there. So I decided to go ahead and take that as kind of like the baseline for the design that I decided I wanted to go ahead and do. And I also mix in a little bit of the Amanecidas, which, if like, I don't know how many of you have played it, but basically the Amanecidas are like a combination of a bunch of different... They're a combination of like 4 different spirits that have like a skull mask and cast a bunch of like holy magic. They're like a particularly fervent boss that fights on behalf of this greater will. And speaking of the video game Blasphemous, I highly recommend it if you're into Metroidvanias. Like, that game is absolutely beautiful. The only thing I will give a disclaimer on, though, is that the game itself is very morbid. As in, there is a lot... how do I say this? It takes... So, in the Bible, you're going to hear... you're probably familiar with the quote where... If your eye causes you to sin, pluck out your eye and cast it out. For it is better to cast out one piece of you than to let your whole body burn in hell. That game takes that quote and dials it up to 100. And the reason why it does that is because the studio that's I guess I'm gonna like fanboy a little bit, but the studio that decided they wanted to go ahead and make the video game, they want to make a game that would invoke a certain image when you think of a certain country. So, like for example, with Japan, you might think of ninjas and samurai. With Scandinavia, you might think of Vikings. In this case, we're talking about Spain. And if you're familiar with Spanish culture and history, it is heavily, heavily rooted in Catholic culture, especially the penitential aspect of it, which penitence means making yourself right with God. So I'm talking about flagellation, like people who would whip themselves or go on pilgrimages to faraway lands in order to gain like a deeper insight. But that's what that game's focus is on, as well as like some of the other Hispanic or Spanish cultural aspects that you might encounter over there. Like the devotion that you might see over in that culture is pretty out there. Like I remember there's this one monk. I think he's about 98 years old now. But he started constructing this whole cathedral by himself, and he's actually still constructing it to this day. If you were to look it up right now, you would actually find a documentary on it on YouTube, and it's pretty amazing when you look into it. Now, from what I'm tracking, he does have like one helper, but they get into a lot of arguments. In fact, the part of the reason why he's been working by himself for the longest time is because he has had people try to come to him, but he's very, very picky with how things are done, and a lot of people just don't have that patience to deal with that. This one guy that he's working with now, apparently he does have that patience. So there you go. The priest himself, he knows that he's not going to be able to finish it in his lifetime, but he's honestly accomplished a lot with what he has now, and it's honestly it's an amazing display of devotion to faith to me, and I find that very inspiring. But let's see. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this now and elaborate a little bit further. So when it came to the actual design of my character, I went through a couple of ideas. Like I was thinking about what I would want to do exactly. Like, did I want to make him like a generic crusader? Did I want to make him a little bit more special than that? When I took a look at when I went through Blasphemous, I eventually I found the inspiration exactly that matched what I was looking for. And after fine tuning it a little bit, I came up with this design right here, which is fucking huge for some reason. Holy crap. Scuff, baby! It's not a proper VTuber debut without some scuff, huh? Let's see. No. Yes. So yeah. No. There we go. So I ended up drawing this as just kind of like a little doodle at one point when I was a little curious about what I wanted to look for when it came to my actual OC. Now the whole idea of Memento Mori was still in play, but you can kind of see with this particular version of the model itself, it was leaning a little bit more towards the fantasy aspect of it, which honestly, I thought I was going to go ahead and put myself into the fantasy universe exclusively. You can kind of see there's a little bit more cybernetic elements in my current model, but that's because I want them to be able to fit a little bit into both areas. Now, going a little bit back into... let's see. The face looks like a Roman cataphract mask. What's not to like? I love those masks, honestly. Like, the moment I see a mask like that, I slap it onto any character that I'm playing with an RPG in. Like... I don't know what it is. Just a thick neck that kind of like drapes over the shoulders and everything like that. I don't know. I don't know what it is. It appeals to me. It appeals to me. But yeah, you can see here, as Chica described, Proto Nycto. So yeah, I ended up drawing this, and then eventually I would meet up with Cecile, and she actually very much enjoyed the music that I made. And I asked her, hey, would you be curious about doing like a little art trade? Because at the time, you already know that being a VTuber basically means that finances are always going to be hard, like 24/7. So she originally wanted to pay me, but I told her, hey, listen, I have an idea. How about we do a skill trade instead? You draw me something, and I make a background song for you. Which, if y'all are curious about, you can actually look up the BGM, either on my YouTube or even on Cecile's YouTube channel. But the song itself is called Fatal Anomaly. So yeah, just like type in my name, Fatal Anomaly, and you'll find it. But that's the song that I ended up producing for her. And when it came to what's it called? Let's see. Let me get rid of this real quick. All right. And when it came to what she made for me, some of you might actually be familiar with this already. Let's see. Let me see if I can find it real quick. There you go. There it is. So yeah, this is what came out of that whole deal. I told her to go ahead and take the drawing that I had and make it a little bit more futuristic. And this is what she came out with, which honestly I fell absolutely in love with. So this would end up serving as the base template for every piece of fan art that I would get from there on, from every commission piece, and even to this VTuber model that you currently see today. And honestly, I'm really damn happy about it. Like, I'm honestly really happy to have met her and to be able to work with her. And she's a very pleasant person to work with, a very pleasant person. So, moving on from there, let me go ahead and get rid of this. Actually, I just realized I don't have to delete the pictures. I could just go ahead and keep going, replacing it. But yeah, from there, I would end up getting a bunch of like different BGMs, such as... Oh yeah, I gotta remember that resizing is an issue. Such as like this one from EX Lightway. Some of you might be familiar with him. In fact, I think he might actually be in this chat. I could be wrong about that. But he ended up doing a really nice piece for me as well, that you kind of see right now. I also got, let's see, this piece right here, which was done by a dude who goes by the name of Gons. I hope the image is not going to be too scuffed when I scale it up. Oh yeah. So I eventually asked, I was looking for like a full body concept, and Gons was the guy who decided he wanted to go ahead and put it together, and honestly, it was absolutely beautiful. Kita, nice to have you here. Appreciate you being here. But honestly, Gons is an incredibly underrated artist, hugely underrated. Like, in fact, let me go ahead and link him because I highly recommend him as an artist altogether. Let's see. There he is. So, I'm gonna go ahead and link this guy because this guy right here, he's an amazing artist, and you take a look at some of his work and his concepts and everything like that, and you can see exactly how underappreciated and underrated this guy is. Like he has less than 500 followers, so definitely toss him a follow if you can. You don't have to let him know I sent you, but like, you know, I want to see this guy succeed. He's really damn good. He's really damn good. I highly recommend him if anybody's ever looking into anything like that. But yeah. Besides this piece, let's see, do I have anything else to share? Let me go and take a look. Let's see. I did have another piece that was actually made by Bane, which I love it as well. It was actually like the intro piece that you saw as the stream was starting up. You can kind of see right here oh Jesus Christ. Okay, boom. Wow, this is a large piece. I really should. This is what happens when you get like a large resolution. Let's see. Scuff. But yeah, this is the piece that I'm referring to. A buddy of mine by the name of Bane Fury actually managed to compose it as I was asking for something that would kind of like work out in kind of like a cinematic manner. Yeah, Bane Fury actually. Yeah, Bandit. You're already familiar with him. Yeah, Bane Fury was the one who actually made this as well. Again, another really good artist. I would highly recommend him as well. One of the really good things that I got out of the whole VTuber community is that I managed to meet up with a bunch of like not only indie VTubers, but a bunch of indie artists as well. And indie musicians while we're at it. Like a bunch of just like content creators who are extraordinarily talented, and honestly I'm really happy to have met them. But yeah. One of my goals as a VTuber is to give a little bit more exposure to these people, and I don't mean exposure as in just for exposure's sake. Like I pay these guys, like they deserve the payment that they got. Like this guy right here, he did an amazing job. So did Gons and and the rest of them. But the point is, like, I want them to succeed. I want to see them succeed, and I'm willing to give them all the shouts in the world to make that happen. Like these guys are absolutely amazing, and you should all like follow them whenever you get the chance. as I go move forward with the streams and everything of the likes, I'm definitely going to go ahead and give a shout out to more people as we move forward. But enough of me showing off all of them. I think it's about time I show off a little bit of myself to y'all. Now, you might be wondering, what do I mean by it? And what I mean by that is I prepared something a little special for y'all for this particular stream. Get going. Alright, Arcantos, you take it easy, man. Really appreciate you being here. Alright. So, I have it in mind to release an EP. And an EP is basically like a compilation of a few tracks. One of the tracks that I'm going to be releasing as part of that EP, or I might just release it independently, is going to be showcased right here, right now. You're going to see it, and we're gonna play. You're gonna see it, and hopefully you enjoy it. But yeah, this particular track is called Crimson Sakura, and it's kind of like a showcasing of a new style that I'm kind of like working with some new instruments and everything that I like. So hopefully you enjoy it, and we'll see what we can get. All right, and there you have it. That right there was Crimson Sakura. Yeah, just a little something special here and there that I wanted to go ahead and show off. But yeah, that's one of 3, maybe 4 tracks that I'm planning to go ahead and release very soon. Once more, makes another bot. I really appreciate you, Thorgel. Oh, thank you, Chica. UX, I really appreciate you, man. Really do. Y'all are great. I love y'all. But yeah, that was something new I decided I want to go ahead and make after a buddy of mine decided to introduce me to baby metal, and I just fell in love with that band and decided I want to go ahead and make something that kind of fit that aesthetic just a little bit. Something that was energetic, something that would capture a little bit of the Eastern vibe that you would hear in some of the tracks and everything like that. And that's what came out. Yeah, I'm honestly really happy with how it came out. I'm really happy. Besides that, what I want to do moving forward is I want to go ahead and use this whole VTubing deal. It's kind of a good recommendation. Wow, that's messed up. I love that. But moving forward, one thing I definitely want to do with the whole VTubing career is I want to actually show some of the music that I make, how it's done, how I go through the process of doing all that, and was it, and as well as maybe play some games. I don't want to I don't want to turn this channel into like a gaming channel. Although I don't mind having a little bit of meme content as well as gaming in here, but I noticed there was somebody who actually voiced a little bit concern as to whether or not this was going to change into something completely different. But music is going to stay. The music is definitely going to stay, and I would not say that if I had not gotten past that point that I described earlier, where I probably should have quit making music to begin with. But music is just a part of me at this point. Like, I can't abandon it. There's no way for me to abandon it. I'm just way too invested into it. And I even though there might be times where I take breaks, I always find myself gravitating back towards it. So the music is going to stay. I'm just adding more to it now, you know, and I'm really happy about it. Let's see. You mean like the DAW and composition workflow? Yes, actually. In fact, I'm glad you reminded me. I was gonna show this off, but I also want to like showcase a little bit of the track that I was working on. Give me like 2 seconds. Give me like 2 seconds. I'll show a little bit. Okay. Let me go ahead and move that. Boom, boom, boom. Studio. We're gonna move this up here. All right. Perfect. Okay. Let me go ahead and turn this part off right here. I'm gonna turn off the BGM and I'm gonna turn this on, but just for the sake of like showing a little bit of what I'm gonna be doing. Here's one track that I've actually been working on quite a bit that I'm also gonna be having as part of an EP. I'm not gonna show off the whole track because we're already because I already showed off one song, but I'm gonna go ahead and show this, and then just give a little bit of an explanation as to what went into it. But let's see, go back. And yeah, that's gonna be a little taste of what I'm gonna be showing as I do these streams. Let's see. I'd love to see that. Always interesting to see how others do their music and what they work with. Yeah, yeah. It's. I feel like it's a very good thing to go ahead and take a look at things like that because there's always something to learn. As for, let's see, do you already know when you'll upload this new track? Um, Sometime this week. It's definitely gonna be sometime this week. Most likely Friday. Most likely Friday. I don't have a hard date. I don't have a hard times or anything like that, but I generally try to upload like either on Friday or like Saturday or Sunday, like the weekend. Usually the weekend. But yeah, that's basically what I'm gonna be working with and what I'm gonna be releasing. For Crimson Sakura, that is. As for this song, which is called Shattered Song, ironically enough, um, I don't have a solid date for it. Like, it is a finished composition, but I don't know if I want to go ahead and save it for like future release. Yeah, appreciate you, Thorjo. Really appreciate you. All right, let's see. Kind of going back to this. Yeah. Let's see. How long have we been doing this? About 1 hour, 17 minutes. Okay, cool, cool, cool. Yeah. Other than that, I don't really have much else I want to go ahead and introduce. But like, if y'all have any questions for right now, I can spare like another like I could do like another 15 minutes, give or take. Like, I'm curious, but like, do y'all have any questions for me or anything the likes? Like, I'll go ahead and answer what I can right now. Let's see. This is a good song right here. All right, not really seeing a whole lot of like. Oh, thank you, Chica. I really appreciate that. Lamellar armor. What is? I feel like I should know. It's been a while. Let me look at that up real quick. Yes, absolutely. I love Lamellar armor. Yes, yes. Like, I don't know what it is, but anything that has like an interlinked pattern to it, like the Lamellar or even just chainmail itself, is very sexy to me. Oh Jesus, that's a lot of questions. Oh my, they're all popping out. Let's see. You score like animations or stuff like that? Ever got score like animations? Oh, no. Well, I'm trying to remember. Oh yes, actually I have. I have now that you mention it. So a while back, I actually did work with this one Utah choir group, called Elan X. It's Elan. It's like capital ELANXII. Well, it's space XII. And they actually did like a whole choir battle, or I think it was called a chorus battle, where they did a whole animation, a bunch of like singers singing together and everything like that. And the composition itself came out beautifully. Um, I should really link that. Let me see if I can find it real quick. In fact, did I stream it here? Nah. We'll keep it simple. Let me go ahead and see if I can find it. No. That's not it. There it is. Okay. So for y'all, I'm gonna go ahead and link this over in the chat. Go ahead and take a look at that, but the animation over there has been done, the singing is done, and I actually did the composition for the music for it. It is a mix of Drunken Flower and Soika. Let's see. Let's see some of the other ones. Will you be putting in personal opinions of what you work with, have tried when working in the FL Studio, going briefly over VSTs and packs? Yes, absolutely. Because so I'm gonna go ahead and say this right off the bat, just because it'll build into what I'm trying to say. but FL Studio is very user friendly, and I always recommend it for anybody who wants to start off. The reason why I say this is because they do offer a free demo, but to call it a free demo is kind of misleading because the demo lets you do everything that the full purchase product would. The only difference is that whatever songs you do make in it are going to be locked behind a paywall. So you can technically create a full composition, mix it, master it, and even export it and have like upload and all that with just a demo. You just have to never close that project. So that's the thing about the FL Studio. On top of that, and this is kind of true of any other DAW, but it's going to give you a lot of different ways to skin. It's like how many different ways you want to skin a cat. There's like a lot of different ways to go ahead and do the same thing. So I'll just be showing how I do things. I know that there are other ways to do it, but for me, the way that I do it is kind of like the easiest. And even then, like I'm always learning something new. Like every time somebody shows me something new, I sometimes just incorporate that into what I do. All right. You got Discord. We can follow your progress at. Yeah, actually, I have it linked in the description of the stream. You could go ahead and click on that, and it'll bring you over to the Violet and Gold Congregation, which is my Discord. But yeah, feel free to hop in, and if you want to just participate in it, by all means. Like we have a really chill community. Like we've been interacting like almost every day and all that, and also the community over there is full of just a bunch of colorful individuals. Like you'll get to know them and you'll get to love them. Ari asks, but how much enjoyment do you get with making music? Means to an end. Okay, so it's definitely not a means to an end for me. Like I don't get paid a whole lot in commissions or anything like that because I'm still an indie musician when it comes down to it. Music, I make music because it inspires me. Like a lot of the tracks that you are hearing here were actually inspired by a bunch of other tracks that I used as reference points to make kind of what I did. Like some of them have like a base template, and then I just kind of build off of it and give it my own little twist, making the song that originally was theirs truly mine. And that's what art is. It's just it's constantly being inspired and creating your own take on something else. Let's see. And if you had the opportunity to score soundtrack of a bigger project in the future, would you try? Oh, absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. Like, what was it? I know Cecile and I were considering doing something, so that's something to look forward to. There's another musician who you'll recognize in there. I mean, I'm more of a minor part in that particular project, but you'll definitely see it. You will definitely see it. Music box pieces. I was able to do something with closing the program. Take multiple days or require a lot of reload. So you bring up a really good point, Separus. For me, I find that what's it called? I find that simpler tracks are easier to produce, and when it comes to producing a track in general, you want to go ahead and keep it kind of like condensed, within a condensed time frame. I say, not necessarily time yourself, but don't slack on it either. The reason why because you can find yourself getting bored of listening to the same track over and over again. Like I know a lot of VTubers are always very self-conscious about their voice, for example, and it's like, yeah, it's okay to be self-conscious about it because you're hearing your own voice perpetually every time you wake up, every time you like talk to people and everything like that. Like, yeah, you're gonna be very nitpicky about your own voice. The same rule applies to music. It's very easy to get tired of listening to the same thing over and over again, even if the song itself is great. So that's just something you have to be careful about. Let's see. For new people, what useful advice would you give them in learning how to properly mix music instead of just slapping instruments together and make some sense of a song? Okay. Learn music theory. Like, do yourself a favor and learn music theory. I know there's a lot of people who say that they don't. Excuse me. There's people out there who say that music theory is a waste, and no, it isn't. It really isn't. I mean, there are people who could operate without it, but for the thing about music theory, oh dear. What's going on with LBS? Oh no, it's scuffed! Oh, Jesus Christ. Okay, so things just went into a little bit of a haywire there, but we're all good. Anyways, going back to your question, Music theory helps it gives you the basic knowledge you need to make something sound good, like major, minor scales, song structure, and all that good stuff. Yeah, it's not hard to study at all. And realistically, all you need to learn is, let's see, song structure, scales, particularly the minor and major scales. Let's see what else. Some basic effects such as like delay and reverb, and let's see, chord progression. Let's see. As for like mixing the song itself, as in like balancing the volumes, download something called Pink Noise. Pink Noise is like, so it's the same thing as white noise. However, it's balanced out specifically to measure out the frequencies of something. Let's see. It's balanced out. I just got a weird notice. It should be fine. It's balanced out specifically so that you're able to go ahead and produce a track that has balanced volume, so long as the mix sound is centered around that pink noise itself. It's a little hard to explain, but if you look it up on YouTube, it's something that is much more easily explained than kind of like how I'm doing it. I think when I do a stream with music, I'll definitely give it a shot, but yeah, that's something I do when it comes to like balancing the volumes. This theory is much more easier. Yeah, it really is. It's not hard to study at all. So that single. So musictheory.net UX to answer your question. Musictheory.net is what I was going through when I was learning music theory. When it comes to the actual program, what was it? I know a couple of musicians actually do offer like tutorials, which honestly, it's a good idea to look into the tutorials and then just reference them. Because the only way you're really gonna learn a program is if you use it yourself. You'll become familiar with the interface, watch what other people do, and copy what they do. And you'll become familiar with the program and even develop your own kind of workflow that works for you. That's the best thing you can do for yourself. Watch how other people do it and then do it yourself. Without knowing chord progression is extremely difficult. Yes, tried skipping out music theory before and we made it hard. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So would you say there's a lot more fundamentals to learn music outside of the actual programs or instruments that... Let me read that again. So would you say there's a lot more fundamentals to learning music outside of the actual programs or instruments that actually contribute to how songs are made, especially when invoking specific moods? Instruments and sounds can definitely trigger specific moods and give specific vibes. Like you probably already picked up from some of the BGMs I've been playing over here, but I tend to go with like higher pitch stabs, such as like harpsichords and music boxes, in order to invoke certain images, and then I go with like a mid piano to kind of like mellow things out and kind of like drive a little bit of an emotion there. The instruments that you use are very important. Like don't neglect that. But even more important is knowing how to use them in a way that complements one another, because you could have an absolutely beautiful piano melody, but if you have a drum pattern that's just like out there, it might be hard to process that. For me, music is basically learning about convergence, how to get all the different elements to basically combine and work together to produce a track that is appealing. All right, I think that's just about it. I think that's the last question. All right, yeah, that's just about it. Another thing that I might do soon enough is that I might go ahead and set up a Twitch just for like more casual gaming and anything that it likes, because I know a bunch of VTubers actually go there. So I might stream on here a little bit more, or I might stream on there. I might do something where I'm just gonna go ahead and upload like videos of myself making music. But beyond that, that's pretty much running. More learning to be done outside of just picking up the instruments. Well, it'll help if you learn how. It'll help if you know what's it called, the notes in the major in this whatever scale that you decide to use. Because if you know music theory, you know what notes are supposed to sound good when they're played. Yeah, yeah, of course. I'll definitely go ahead and play what I can. All right. Well, I think that I've just about had enough of all of this, so we go ahead and close it out. But hey, I want to go ahead and say that I really appreciate y'all coming over. I'm really happy to have y'all here and support me with this. Like honestly, this was fun. This was a lot of fun, and I'm really happy I decided to finally go through with this. So if y'all want to continue to interact, like you'll find me definitely interacting with the community over in Discord, which you'll find once again in the description below. If you know some people who might be interested in joining, feel free to hop in. Did you catch it? Yeah, Gladia, don't worry about it. I really appreciate that you managed to catch it. But yeah, if you want to hang out, just check out the Discord. Feel free to hop on in, and we'll shoot the shit. All right, y'all take it easy now, and I really appreciate you. Thank